welcome to Empty Bottles and Deep Thoughts. My name is Gideon. I am a recovering alcoholic, a trans male, and I live with borderline personality disorder. I'm going to be creating one video a week to kind of talk about what it's like living with borderline personality disorder, about my journey to sobriety, and to document the changes that I see throughout my transition. This first video is going to be about some questions that I've been asked about being trans and just people trying to understand and educate themselves. The first question was they, them. Understanding the pronouns they, them, and what non-binary is. Non-binary would be not fitting either male or female gender. The pronouns they, them would fit for somebody who doesn't feel like they are either male or female. Personally, I used the pronouns they, them while I was figuring out who I was and where I fell on the gender identity spectrum. My pronouns are he, him now. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of insight to offer for that. Everybody's different. It just kind of depends on where people feel they fall on the spectrum and how they want to be referred to. The next question I had was, how do you come to terms with knowing some people, like your parents, siblings, friends, whatnot, may not accept you as trans? This one is a little bit difficult for me because everybody's been really accepting. My parents, my siblings, my grandparents, and all of my friends have been extremely accepting. I've been very lucky with that. That's not always the case for a lot of people. The way I see it is, if you can't accept me for who I am, then that's on you. I accept me for who I am, and I'm not gonna hide who I am to make other people feel comfortable. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you don't understand it, that's okay. But respect me. If you can't respect me, then you don't need to be involved in my life. Again, that's a really difficult one because I can't speak from experience on that one. I don't know how I would 100% respond in that situation if, let's say, my parents weren't accepting of me. I don't know. I might have to revisit that question at a later point in time when I have somebody that could better answer that one. In what ways do you personally wish to transition? So this is one of those questions that could potentially be offensive to some people because not everybody's comfortable with talking about it. One of the stipulations that I had when I was looking for questions for this video was if you think it's going to be offensive, ask it anyways. I'm not going to be offended over somebody trying to educate themselves. Personally, I'm not really entirely 100% sure what all my transition is going to entail. I do know that I plan on starting counseling here soon. From there, I hope to be able to start hormone replacement therapy, or HRT. That would be basically I would get a shot of testosterone every so often to help the testosterone levels get higher in my body to where I will start showing masculine signs, facial hair or whatnot. My voice will get deeper. Basically be going through puberty a second time. Which doesn't sound very fun, but I'm kind of looking forward to it personally. I know I do plan on getting top surgery eventually. At the moment, I'm wearing a really tight sports bra, essentially, that makes me look a little more flat-chested than normal. They also make binders that you can wear that will also help you look flatter. I know some people have used ACE bandage wraps to bind with. That is actually extremely dangerous, I learned, and is not recommended at all. In fact, it's actually highly recommended that you avoid doing it that way, because it doesn't evenly displace the pressure across your ribs, so you run the risk of restricting breathing or injuring yourself doing it that way. Definitely look into a tight-fitting sports bra, tank top, or an actual binder that will properly displace the pressure. As far as bottom surgery, I am looking into that. It is something that I've thought about doing. There are a few different options with that route that I just haven't quite decided which route I want to go. I need to do some more research about that before I can decide. Let's see. Next question. What is dysphoria? And what makes me dysphoric? Dysphoria is a name for, it's the name for what they refer, trying to figure out how to put this into words. Dysphoria, it's basically not liking your body. I can't really say how it is for everybody, because, again, I only know my experiences. I know a lot of people will have severe depression caused by their gender dysphoria. It's basically you're not comfortable in the body you were born with. Personally, I don't dislike the body that I was born with, but I feel like I'm in somebody else's body, if that makes any sense. It's not me. It's not mine. It's like renting a house. It's nice to live in, you might like it, but it doesn't really feel like yours, you don't own it. That's kind of how I feel. again, everybody's different. I can't really speak on a lot of other people's, I can't really speak on anybody else's experiences with dysphoria. See, why is someone transphobic for refusing to acknowledge more than two genders? That's a tough one. If you see, I think there's a difference. If you refuse to educate yourself on what being transgender is, and you refuse to acknowledge that somebody is trans, then yeah, that I could see why that would, that would be transphobic. You're basically telling somebody that they're not valid, and that's not okay. If you're trying to educate yourself and people are saying you're transphobic for trying to learn what what it is to be transgender and what it means and how it happens even, then no, I don't think that would be considered being transphobic. If you're trying to educate yourself and you're trying to understand, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are definitely questions that you should be careful how you ask them or who you ask them to, just because certain things can trigger people. Again, that brings back to the dysphoria. There are certain things that can be said while you may not mean them in a rude way. They can be a trigger for somebody. I would suggest talking to somebody that you know personally and asking if they would mind if you ask some questions so that you can understand, and just let them know that you're trying to educate yourself and you're trying to learn, because that's the only way that it's going to get better for anybody. There's nothing wrong with trying to educate yourself. It becomes a problem when you refuse to educate yourself, you refuse to have an open mind about things, and you refuse to even try to understand. That's when I feel it would be transphobia. Let's see. A couple more questions. What do I want people to understand about being trans and the process of being trans? I know some of the questions that I've been getting are like, oh, did you start HRT yet? Which again, that's hormone replacement therapy. I've had people ask me, have you started T? When are you going to start that? It doesn't happen immediately. It's a process. It's a long process. Yes, I came out as trans. I started dressing more masculine. I cut my hair. I picked a different name to start going by. But from there, I had to find a therapist, which I was lucky enough to find one who not only specializes in working with trans people, but is trans himself, also specializes in substance abuse, so he will be able to work with me on my sobriety as well, and deals with mental health issues. So he'll be able to help me with my borderline personality disorder, or BPD. I got really lucky with that one, actually. He's one of the best in the city from what I've heard, at least as far as working with trans people goes. From there, I need to get referrals in order to have a doctor start me on testosterone. And then I have to be on testosterone for so long before they will look into doing top surgery for me. And from there, it would go into looking to do bottom surgery. But it's a process. It's not something that happens, within a couple weeks or a couple months. It's gonna be a couple years probably. But it'll be worth it. I mean, it already has been worth it for me to even have just come out and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what makes me happy, and this is who I'm going to continue to be. I'm still the same person that I was before, but now I'm able to feel more comfortable in my own body, and I'm able to be more open about me and who I am. See, sorry, I have to keep looking over at my notebook to read off the questions. What can allies do to make life better and safer for trans people? Honestly, take the time to understand what it means to, what it means to be trans. Take the time to understand that while you may not understand what they're going through, and this is new for you, this is completely new for that person as well. They have to get used to feeling comfortable enough to even come out. I know for me, I was terrified coming out. I actually have a younger sister who is trans, and my family was really accepting of her, but it terrified me to come out because I'm like, okay, great. My mom has 2 trans kids now. Is she going to be okay with that? And she was. She didn't have a problem with it at all. I was worried that my biological dad was going to have a problem with it. And he didn't at all. He was actually kind of excited that I took his middle name, Jay, to be my middle name. I was worried how my friends were going to respond. It took a little bit. But once I got comfortable with it, and once I got comfortable with saying this is who I am to myself, it made it easier to tell other people that this is who I am. I started by telling a couple friends on, over Facebook, through Messenger. I told my best friend, I told my sister over text message. I actually told a couple of my best friends. I sent my mom a long letter via Facebook Messenger. And then I posted a status on Facebook and said, hey guys, this is who I am. And it helped having people support me. It helped that I was able to come out to a small group of people at first before posting that on Facebook for everybody to see. And it kind of helped to know that I was probably going to get some negative responses, and that I was going to get some people that probably had not the nicest things to say. But overwhelmingly positive responses. I had so many people that were supportive and, told me like, hey, I don't necessarily understand it, but if it's what makes you happy and this is who you are, then I support you 100%, and I'm happy for you. And that definitely helped a lot. Another way allies can help would be, I know when it came to figuring out how I wanted to cut my hair, I've always had fairly short hair. Actually, at one point last year, my hair was about the size of the sides here. I had my head shaved for the better part of a year. So, I've always had short hair, but I've never really picked out a haircut with the intention of making myself look more masculine. So I posted a few ideas that I had on Facebook and asked for some input on what I thought people thought I could pull off, or what people thought I could pull off. I picked like 5 different haircuts that I really liked, and ended up going with this one. And I actually am really happy with it. It's not too short. I'm still kind of figuring out how to style it though. I had people that I sent pictures to when I was trying on clothes to help figure out what I liked and what looked good on me. The biggest support that I needed though was my first time using the men's room in public. I was terrified to walk into the men's room. There are people out there that aren't very nice. There are people out there that don't get it and refuse to educate themselves. I was worried that, somebody was going to say something. So I had a buddy walk in with me. He checked to make sure there wasn't anybody in there, and there wasn't. He asked if I wanted him to stay in there with me. I said no, I think I got this now. And proceeded to use the bathroom and then leave. Nobody said anything. Nobody questioned me when I walked out. It's still a little scary to walk into the men's room on my own because I don't know if somebody's going to say something. But I will say it does get a little bit easier every time. As an ally, one thing you can do is let your friend know, like, hey, if you're not comfortable going somewhere on your own, I'll go with you. If your friend is not comfortable walking into the bathroom of the gender that they identify with on their own, if you can, go with them. If you can't go in that bathroom with them, see if there's somebody who will go in that bathroom with them. It makes it a little more comfortable for us. It makes it a little safer, at least for me personally. It made me feel safe. The last question I have is, how did I pick a name? Well, first I asked my girlfriend how, or what she thought my name, would be a good name for me. And she threw out a couple suggestions, and none of them really seemed to jump out at me. So I decided I was gonna Google boy names. And I started going through baby lists. I'm looking at names and I'm reading through them and I'm seeing a couple that I like. And then I get to Gideon. And I see that one. And I'm like, okay, I really like that one. I'm like, let's see what else there is. Maybe I'll find something that I like more. And I kept going through the list and I just kept coming back to Gideon. It just kept popping up in my head. I'm not really sure why I was drawn to that name, but I was. It just it seemed right. It seemed normal. So I decided to go with Gideon. I knew right away that I wanted to take my dad's middle name. My birth name, I was given my grandmother's middle name, which my sister took when she came out as trans, and she picked a name. So I decided to take my dad's middle name. Yeah, other than that, I just kind of scrolled through names and found one that seemed right. Well, that was my last question. I'm gonna plan on doing one video a week and aim for doing videos every Thursday. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for tuning in.